The door slammed open and Emma froze, her lips still tingling from Lily's kiss. Her roommate's wide-eyed stare burned into them, the air thick with unspoken accusations. In that heartbeat, Emma's world teetered on the edge of ruin or revelation. Emma had always been the quiet one, the girl who blended into the background of her own life. At 25, she was a graphic designer in Seattle, her days filled with pixel-perfect layouts and late-night coffee runs. Her apartment, a cozy loft in Capitol Hill, was her sanctuary, shared with her best friend and roommate, Sarah, who was as loud and unfiltered as Emma was reserved. But lately Emma's carefully curated world had been unraveling, thread by thread, ever since Lily walked into her life. Lily was 26, a freelance photographer with a penchant for leather jackets and a laugh that could light up a room. She'd moved to Seattle 6 months ago, renting the spare room in Emma and Sarah's apartment after answering an ad on Craigslist. From the first moment Emma saw her tousled black hair, green eyes that seemed to see right through her, she felt a spark she couldn't name. Lily was bold, unapologetic, and carried a kind of freedom Emma envied. They clicked instantly, spending late nights talking about art, music, and dreams over cheap wine. But Emma hadn't dared admit the truth. She was falling for Lily, and it terrified her. Emma had grown up in a small town in Idaho, where different wasn't a word you wore proudly. She'd known she was attracted to women since high school, but fear had kept her silent. She'd dated men, played the part, and buried her feelings so deep they barely surfaced. Seattle was supposed to be her fresh start, a place where she could be herself, but old habits died hard. She hadn't come out to anyone, not Sarah, not her family, not even herself, not fully. The idea of loving Lily, of letting that love breathe, felt like stepping off a cliff. That night everything changed. It was a rainy Friday, the kind of Seattle evening that demanded blankets and hot cocoa. Sarah was out at a concert, leaving Emma and Lily alone in the apartment. They'd been editing photos together, Lily's shoulder brushing against Emma's as they laughed over a blurry shot of a dog chasing its tail. The air felt charged like the moment before a storm. Lily had leaned in, her breath warm against Emma's cheek, and whispered, "You're beautiful when you laugh." Before Emma could think, their lips met, soft and hesitant at first, then hungry, desperate, like they'd both been starving for this moment. That's when Sarah walked in. The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah stood in the doorway, her rain-soaked jacket dripping onto the hardwood floor, her mouth open in shock. Emma pulled back, her face burning, her heart hammering so loud she was sure everyone could hear it. Lily, unfazed, kept her hand on Emma's arm, a quiet anchor in the chaos. "Sarah," Emma started, but the words caught in her throat. What could she say? She'd been caught, exposed, her secret laid bare in the worst possible way. Sarah's expression shifted from shock to something unreadable. "I need a minute," she said, turning and disappearing into her room. The door clicked shut, leaving Emma and Lily in the dim glow of the living room, the weight of what had just happened pressing down on them. "I'm so sorry," Emma whispered, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean for this to—" "Don't," Lily said softly, her fingers brushing Emma's cheek. "Don't apologize for this. For us." Emma wanted to believe her, but fear clawed at her chest. Sarah was her best friend, the one constant in her life. What if this ruined everything? What if Sarah told others? What if Emma's carefully built world crumbled? But as she looked into Lily's eyes, steady and unwavering, she felt a flicker of something new, courage, maybe, or hope. They sat on the couch, hands intertwined, as the rain pounded against the windows. Lily spoke first, her voice low and calm. "We need to talk to her. She's your friend, Emma. She'll understand." Emma wasn't so sure. Sarah was open-minded, sure, but this was personal. It was raw, uncharted territory. Emma had spent so long hiding who she was that the idea of being seen, really seen, felt like a spotlight she wasn't ready for. But Lily's hand in hers was warm, grounding, and for the first time, Emma wondered if she could be brave. The next morning, Emma knocked on Sarah's door, her stomach in knots. Lily waited in the living room, giving her space but promising to be there if she needed her. Sarah opened the door, her face tired but soft. "Can we talk?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah nodded, stepping aside. They sat on her bed, the same bed where they'd spent countless nights watching rom-coms and sharing secrets. But this secret was bigger, heavier, and Emma didn't know where to start. I didn't mean for you to find out like that, Emma said finally, staring at her hands. I didn't even know how to tell myself. Sarah was quiet for a long moment, then reached out, squeezing Emma's hand. I'm not mad, Em. I'm just surprised. I wish you'd told me. Tears welled in Emma's eyes. I was scared. I didn't know how you'd react. I didn't know how I'd react. Sarah's expression softened. You're my best friend. I love you no matter what. But I need time to process this, okay? It's a lot. Emma nodded, relief and guilt warring inside her. She wanted to tell Sarah everything, how Lily made her feel alive, how she was terrified but exhilarated, how she was finally starting to understand who she was. But for now this was enough. A start. As Emma left Sarah's room, she found Lily waiting, her green eyes searching Emma's face. You okay? Lily asked. Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the night before lift, just a little. I think I will be. The days after Sarah's discovery were a tightrope walk. Emma woke each morning with a knot in her chest, torn between the thrill of Lily's touch and the fear of what came next. Every creak of the apartment floorboards felt like a judgment, every glance from Sarah a question Emma wasn't ready to answer. Emma and Lily tried to keep things normal, but normal had shifted. They stole moments when Sarah wasn't around, quiet kisses in the kitchen, hands brushing under the table, but the air felt charged, like they were waiting for a storm to break. Emma wanted to believe Sarah was okay with it, but her friend's quietness unnerved her. Sarah wasn't her usual bubbly self. She was thoughtful, distant, like she was wrestling with something she couldn't say. One evening, Emma found Sarah in the living room, scrolling through her phone. The TV was on, but neither of them was watching. Emma sat down, her heart racing. Are we okay? She asked, her voice small. Sarah looked up, her blue eyes softening. Yeah, we're okay. I didn't know you were struggling with this. I feel like I should have noticed. Emma's throat tightened. I didn't want you to notice. I didn't want anyone to. I've spent so long pretending I was someone else. Sarah set her phone down, leaning forward. You don't have to pretend with me. I'm not going anywhere. But I need to know what's going on with you and Lily. Is this serious? Emma hesitated. Serious. The word felt too big, too real. But when she thought of Lily, her laugh, her steady presence, the way she made Emma feel like she could be herself, it fit. I think so, she admitted. I've never felt like this before. Sarah nodded, a small smile breaking through. She's good for you. I can see it. Just don't shut me out, okay? Emma promised she wouldn't, but the conversation left her uneasy. She wanted to believe Sarah was okay, but doubt lingered. What if Sarah's acceptance was just a front? What if she told someone else? Emma's family back in Idaho was conservative, the kind of people who'd call her feelings a sin. The thought of them finding out made her stomach churn. Meanwhile, Lily was a force of nature, pulling Emma out of her shell. They went on their first real date a week later, to a small jazz club in Pioneer Square. The music was sultry, the lights dim, and Lily's hand rested on Emma's knee under the table. For the first time, Emma let herself relax into the moment, let herself imagine a world where she could love openly. Lily leaned in, her lips brushing Emma's ear. You're allowed to be happy, you know, she whispered. Emma wanted to believe her, but happiness felt fragile, like a bubble waiting to pop. And it nearly did when they got home. Sarah was waiting up, her face pale. Your mom called, she said, her voice tight. She's coming to visit. Next week. Emma's heart stopped. Her mother, Diane, was a force of her own, strict, traditional, and completely unaware of Emma's truth. The thought of her in the same space as Lily, as their budding relationship, was paralyzing. Did she say why? Emma asked, her voice barely audible. Sarah shook her head. Just that she misses you. She wants to spend a weekend here. Lily, standing behind Emma, squeezed her shoulder. It'll be okay, she said, but Emma could hear the uncertainty in her voice. They both knew what this meant. Emma's carefully constructed walls were about to be tested. The next few days were a blur of preparation. Emma cleaned the apartment obsessively, as if a spotless kitchen could hide her secrets. She and Lily agreed to keep their relationship under wraps while Diane was the Reno touching. No lingering looks, nothing that could give them away. But the thought of hiding who she was, especially now, felt like a betrayal of everything she was starting to embrace. The night before Diane's arrival, Emma couldn't sleep. She sat on the balcony, the Seattle skyline glittering in the distance, and let the tears come. Lily found her there, wrapping her in a blanket and pulling her close. "You don't have to do this alone," Lily said. "I'm here no matter what." Emma buried her face in Lily's shoulder, the warmth of her embrace grounding her. "I'm so scared," she admitted. "What if she hates me?" Lily pulled back, cupping Emma's face. "She might not understand right away. But you're her daughter. And you're incredible. If she can't see that, it's her loss." Emma wanted to believe her, but fear was a powerful thing. As they sat there, the city humming around them, Emma felt the weight of the days ahead. She was about to face her biggest test yet, and she wasn't sure she was ready. Diane's arrival was like a storm rolling into Seattle, all sharp edges and unrelenting force. Emma stood at the airport, her palms sweaty, as her mother stepped off the escalator, her face a mix of exhaustion and determination. The weekend had barely begun, and Emma already felt like she was drowning. Diane was everything Emma wasn't: decisive, unyielding, and deeply rooted in the values of her small-town upbringing. At 50, she wore her graying hair in a neat bun and her opinions like armor. She hugged Emma tightly, her perfume sharp and familiar, but her eyes scanned the surroundings with a critical edge. "This city's too loud," she said as they drove back to the apartment. "How do you stand it?" Emma forced a smile, her stomach twisting. "You get used to it." The apartment felt smaller with Diane there, her presence filling every corner. Sarah was her usual charming self, offering Diane tea and asking about her flight, but Lily was quieter, her usual spark dimmed. Emma caught her eye across the room, a silent plea to keep their promise. No signs, no slip-ups. But every time Lily brushed past her, Emma's skin burned with the effort of staying distant. The first day passed without incident, but tension hung in the air like fog. Diane asked endless questions about Emma's job, her friends, her life, but there was an edge to her curiosity, like she was looking for something to disapprove of. At dinner, she brought up Emma's ex-boyfriend, Mark, from college. "He was such a nice boy," Diane said, cutting into her steak. "Whatever happened to him?" Emma's fork froze midair. "We just didn't work out," she said, avoiding Lily's gaze. Diane frowned. "You're not getting any younger, Emma. You need to think about settling down." Sarah jumped in, changing the subject to a new art exhibit, but Emma's chest tightened. Settling down. The words echoed her mother's expectations, the life Emma was supposed to want. But all she could think about was Lily, sitting across from her, her foot brushing Emma's under the table. That night, Emma and Lily lay in Emma's bed, whispering in the dark. Diane was asleep in the guest room, Sarah in hers, but the apartment felt like a minefield. "I hate this," Emma murmured, her head on Lily's chest. "Pretending you're just my roommate." Lily kissed her forehead. "It's just for a couple of days. Then we'll figure it out." But the next morning, everything unraveled. Emma was making coffee when Diane walked into the kitchen, holding a photo she'd found on the Count-era candid shot of Emma and Lily, laughing at the jazz club, their hands intertwined. Sarah had printed it from Lily's camera, leaving it out by mistake. "Who's this?" Diane asked, her voice sharp. Emma's heart plummeted. "That's just a photo from a night out," she stammered. Diane's eyes narrowed. "You two look awfully close." Before Emma could respond, Lily walked in, her hair still mussed from sleep. She froze, seeing the photo in Diane's hand. The silence was suffocating, and Emma felt the walls closing in. She wanted to lie, to deflect, but the truth was clawing its way out. "Mom," Emma said, her voice shaking, "there's something I need to tell you." Diane's face hardened, but she didn't speak. Emma took a deep breath, Lily's presence behind her giving her strength. "I'm in love with Lily," she said, the words spilling out like a dam breaking. "I've always been attracted to women. I'm gay." The kitchen was silent, the only sound the drip of the coffee maker. Diane's expression was unreadable, a mix of shock and something darker. "You don't know what you're saying," she said finally, her voice low. "This isn't you." "It is me," Emma said, tears streaming down her face. "It's who I've always been." Diane set the photo down, her hands trembling. "I need to think," she said and walked out of the kitchen. A moment later the front door slammed. Emma sank to the floor sobbing. Lily knelt beside her, pulling her into her arms. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "You were so brave." But Emma didn't feel brave. She felt like she'd just lost her mother, her past, everything she'd known. Sarah appeared in the doorway, her face pale. "I'm so sorry, Em. I didn't mean to leave that photo out." "It's not your fault," Emma said, wiping her eyes. "It was going to come out eventually." The rest of the day was a blur. Diane didn't return until evening, her face closed off. She barely spoke, packing her things and announcing she was cutting her visit short. "I can't do this right now," she said, avoiding Emma's eyes. "I need time." As Diane's taxi pulled away, Emma stood on the balcony, feeling like a piece of her had been carved out. Lily stood beside her, silent but steady. "She'll come around," Lily said, but Emma wasn't sure. All she knew was that she'd taken a step she couldn't take back, and despite the pain, it felt like freedom. Emma woke to an empty apartment, the silence louder than any argument. Diane was gone, and with her the fragile hope Emma had clung to. But Lily's hand in hers was a reminder. She wasn't alone, not anymore. The weeks that followed were a storm of emotions. Emma threw herself into work, designing logos and websites with a ferocity that surprised her colleagues. But at night, when the world quieted, the ache of her mother's rejection crept in. Diane hadn't called, hadn't texted, hadn't given any sign she was ready to talk. Emma tried to focus on Lily, on the love growing between them, but the shadow of her mother's words lingered. Lily, ever the optimist, refused to let Emma spiral. She dragged her to art galleries, to late-night diners, to quiet beaches along Puget Sound. They walked hand in hand, the cold air biting their cheeks, and talked about everything: dreams, fears, the future. Lily wanted to open her own photography studio. Emma dreamed of creating art that mattered. Together they felt unstoppable. But Emma couldn't shake the fear that her past would catch up. Sarah, true to her word, became their biggest ally. She apologized endlessly for the photo, but Emma reassured her it wasn't her fault. Sarah started inviting them to hang out as a couple, normalizing what Emma had feared would be a scandal. One night, over pizza and beer, Sarah raised a glass. "To love," she said, grinning. "And to you too, for being brave as hell." Emma laughed, but the word brave still felt foreign. She wasn't brave, she was terrified. Every time her phone buzzed, she hoped it was Diane, but it never was. She started to wonder if she'd lost her mother for good. Then one rainy afternoon, everything shifted. Emma was at a coffee shop, sketching in her notebook, when her phone lit up with a text from her younger sister, Claire. "Mom's been talking about you," it read. "She's struggling, but she misses you." Emma's heart leapt and sank at the same time. Claire was 19, studying at a community college in Idaho, and the only person in their family Emma had always felt safe with. She called Claire immediately, her hands shaking. "She's not ready to talk," Claire said, her voice soft. "But she's been asking me questions. About you, about being gay. She's trying." Emma's eyes filled with tears. Trying wasn't acceptance, but it was something. Crack in the wall. She told Claire everything about Lily, about the fear and the joy, about the night Sarah caught them. Claire listened, her silence warm and understanding. "I'm proud of you," she said finally. "And I want to meet this Lily girl." The call gave Emma a spark of hope, but it also made her realize how much she'd been carrying alone. That night, she told Lily about Claire, about the possibility that her family wasn't lost forever. Lily listened, her green eyes steady, and then pulled Emma into a kiss that felt like a promise. "We'll get through this," she said. "Together." But the universe had other plans. A week later, Emma got an email from her boss, offering her a promotion, but it came with a catch. The job was in New York, a dream opportunity to lead a design team for a major client. It was everything Emma had worked for, but it meant leaving Seattle, leaving Lily, leaving the life they were building. Emma didn't tell Lily right away. She spent days agonizing, weighing her career against her heart. Lily noticed her distraction, her quietness, and finally confronted her one night in their favorite park, the city lights reflecting off the water. "What's going on, Em?" she asked, her voice gentle but firm. "You're shutting me out." Emma broke down, telling her about the job, the move, the impossible choice. "I love you," she said, tears streaming down her face. But this is my dream. I don't know what to do. Lily's face was unreadable, her eyes searching Emma's. Do you want this job? She asked. Yes, Emma admitted. But I want you more. Lily took her hand, her grip fierce. Then take the job. I'll come with you. Emma blinked, stunned. What? You can't just— I can, Lily said, a smile breaking through. My work's freelance. I can do it anywhere. And I want to be where you are. The weight of Lily's words hit Emma like a wave. This was love, real, reckless, willing to cross coasts. But doubt crept in. What if Lily regretted it? What if they moved and everything fell apart? Emma had spent so long protecting herself that the idea of someone choosing her, fully and fearlessly, felt too good to be true. As they walked home hand in hand, Emma felt the first stirrings of a new kind of courage. Not the kind that came from confessing her truth, but the kind that came from trusting it. She wasn't just Emma anymore, she was Emma and Lily, a team, a future. Emma stood at the edge of a new beginning, her bags packed, her heart full. New York loomed like a promise and a challenge, but with Lily by her side it felt possible. The real surprise, though, was what came next, not just a move, but a transformation. The decision to move was made in a whirlwind. Emma accepted the job, and Lily started researching apartments in Brooklyn, her excitement infectious. Sarah threw them a going-away party, filling the apartment with friends, music, and laughter. As Emma looked around, she realized how far she'd come. The girl who'd hidden her truth was gone, replaced by someone who was learning to live it. But there was one loose end, Diane. Emma hadn't heard from her mother since she'd left Seattle, and the silence was a wound that wouldn't heal. She wrote a letter, pouring out her heart, her love for Lily, her fear of losing her family, her hope for understanding. She sent it to Idaho, not expecting a reply but needing to try. The move to New York was chaotic, a blur of boxes, flights, and late-night pizza in their tiny new apartment. Lily's photos lined the walls, Emma's sketches scattered across the table. They built a life together, piece by piece, and Emma started to believe in forever. Her new job was demanding but exhilarating, and Lily's photography took off, her work featured in a local gallery. They were happy, but Emma couldn't shake the ache of her mother's absence. 3 months later, a letter arrived. Emma recognized Diane's handwriting immediately, her heart pounding as she opened it. The words were careful, measured, but they were there. I don't understand everything, Emma, but I'm trying. I love you, and I want to be part of your life. Can we talk? Emma cried, relief and hope flooding her. She called Diane that night, their conversation tentative but real. Diane admitted she was struggling, that her beliefs clashed with Emma's truth, but she didn't want to lose her daughter. Can I visit? She asked. I'd like to meet Lily. The visit was set for spring, and Emma spent the weeks leading up to it in a mix of nerves and excitement. When Diane arrived, she was quieter than Emma remembered, but her eyes were softer, less guarded. They sat in a Brooklyn cafe, Lily's hand in Emma's, and talked not just about the past, but about the future. Diane asked about Lily's work, about their life, and for the first time Emma felt seen, not judged. The visit wasn't perfect. There were awkward moments, questions Diane didn't know how to ask, truths Emma wasn't sure how to explain. But it was a start, a bridge between who they'd been and who they could be. As Diane hugged her goodbye, she whispered, I'm proud of you, Emma. I'm sorry it took me so long. Emma stood on the sidewalk, watching her mother's taxi disappear, and felt a weight lift. Lily slipped her arm around her, kissing her temple. You did it, she said. We did it, Emma corrected, smiling through tears. Back in their apartment, Emma looked at the life they'd built, the photos, the sketches, the love that filled every corner. She thought of Sarah, who'd caught them in the act and set this whole journey in motion. She thought of Claire, who'd been her anchor. She thought of Diane, who was trying step by step. And she thought of Lily, who'd chosen her, again and again. The world wasn't perfect. There would be more challenges, more moments of doubt. But Emma wasn't hiding anymore. She was living fully and fiercely, in a love that had surprised her in the best possible way. And as she pulled Lily close, the city humming outside their window, she knew this was just the beginning. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.